Your property taxes go up on your house, not sure what to do or if you can appeal? Stick around as we get into that in the question of the day. What's going on, guys? Matt in the hat. Matt Johnson Real Estate, powered by Keller Williams Diamond Partners. You are tuned in to the hot list. I come to you on Monday through Friday around 12 o'clock Central Standard Time. We hang out and talk real estate. We talk properties new to the market with recent price reductions or something unique about the property that I want to share with y'all and want y'all to know. I also answer a question of the day that is submitted by a listener of the podcast. And for more information on how you get your question answered, just hang out till the end. Finally, I recognize and thank a sponsor of the week each and every single week. And if you are interested in how you could potentially be a sponsor of the hot list and be recognized and support the channel, all you got to do is hang out with me for a few. The property we're talking is a newly listed property. The address is 1116 Sagebrush Court in Burlington, so it is a few miles away from Emporia. It's a 3-bed, 3-bath house. It's got 2,926 square feet of finished space, currently listed for $255,000, courtesy of Trustpoint Real Estate. This house is a ranch style house, open concept, got a nice island in the kitchen, combination of tile and carpet throughout the house. It's got a full basement that is finished, nice big backyard that is also fenced in, a deck off the back, and then a covered porch on the front. If you have any questions, all you got to do is just click on the link while it is available. It'll take you right to my website so you can see the property for yourself. Again, just as a reminder, once the property goes under contract or is sold, that link will no longer work for obvious reasons. So before I get into the question of the day, I do want to recognize and thank our sponsor of the week this week, and that is Fanestil Meats here in Emporia. Just remember, they carry a number of different varieties. They have beef, they have pork, they have poultry, they have deli trays, cheeses. They also have a variety of different sauces and rubs as well. If you click on the link in the description, it'll take you right to the website so you can see there's a smoky cowboy mustard, there's a garden salsa, there's a chili salsa, there's a corn salsa, there's all kinds of different barbecue sauces as well. So make sure that you check that out and see what they have available. If you're interested in being a sponsor of the week and supporting the hot list, all you got to do is shoot me a message wherever you're listening to this at. I will be happy to have a further conversation with you, see if you're interested and qualify for being a sponsor of the week and supporting the hot list. All you got to do is just shoot me a message or drop me a comment wherever you are listening to this at. That brings us to my favorite part of the podcast, and that is the question of the day. The question of the day is submitted by a listener of the podcast. So each and every day that I do these and answer a question, it is submitted by a listener of the podcast. If you have a question about real estate, not sure where to start, I would be happy to have you start with me. Just see what question you have and how I can help get that answered for you. So, question of the day: how do I appeal my property taxes? While it's not quite that time of year, I figured it's still a good time, just because there can be a small window to appeal your taxes. Tax season is going to be on us before we know it. Maybe it's time to appeal your property taxes, or maybe you live somewhere you don't have property taxes. Either way, we're going to cover a few things today. Obviously, before I get started, not everybody needs to appeal their property taxes. There are plenty that should, but not everybody does. And if you feel like your most recent tax assessment was on the higher side, maybe this would be something to look into or consider. Usually you can find these out online because it is public record. Maybe there's some information that's wrong and that could affect your tax bill. So what I'm going to talk about today are going to be just a rough introduction to what the process looks like to appeal your taxes. I'm not going to get into specific details just because it's going to vary by state, by county, and I I'm just going to cover generality, yeah, that word today. So, today what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover 6 basics to appealing property taxes. Number 1, is it worth the effort to even appeal your taxes? We each have our own idea of what our labor is worth. Jumping through hoops to appeal your tax is a decision that only you can make. Now, if you live in a higher tax state like New Jersey, Illinois, Texas, new tax laws there may hurt a little bit more because your deductible is now capped at $10,000 for property tax. And don't kid yourself, the process for this is going to be time consuming. If it's only a couple $100, you have to decide if it's worth fighting. Now, if it's, a couple thousand, few thousand, then you might want to reconsider, might be worth doing. Also, you need to know and consider if an attorney is going to be necessary to help represent you, whether like it's like a tax attorney, and only you can decide if that's going to be worth it. Number 2, challenge small but significant errors. One of the most common reasons homes are improperly taxed are because the tax records are incorrect. The most common problems for this are houses with more square footage, more bedrooms, or more land than actually are in or around the house. Older homes especially have this issue because many hands have touched these records over the years. Each time that the government gets caught up on the latest and greatest technology, generally somebody has to transfer that over by hand. And it's easy to transpose numbers. We've all done it before. And that's how your 2,300 square foot house becomes 3,200 square feet. There also is a higher success rate if you know what the tax assessor thinks about your home. If the office believes that you have additional square footage in the house or an acre you don't have, you should have very little trouble appealing your taxes. So all you got to do is just prove them wrong. Number 3, check the window because it's not open very long. Like I mentioned earlier, this could be an extremely important thing to keep in mind because when processing your tax appeal, there is a small window that you can get this done, and it's not very long. So I would recommend not just getting a wild hair to suddenly appeal it. Have everything ready to go as soon as you can, or if that window's starting to close this year, get a head start and a jump on for next year. Contact your county office to find out when that window opens because they'll be able to let you know what the start date and the finish date are. Make actual contact with the assessor's office. They're going to keep you informed of any changes on how they will be handling tax appeals for that year. They'll also let you know about any deadlines that you have to abide by to have a chance of reducing your tax bill. Brings us to number 4, which are exemptions. There are certain groups, whether it's for service or longevity, that do have some tax exemptions and qualify for them. They've either earned the right to reduce property tax or they get them down the road, not right out of the gate. The most common groups are ones, for example, that are homesteading. Many states have this. This is living in your home for enough time for an exemption. The time only part of the property value is taxed under the Homestead Act. So not the entire home, but over a certain period of time, some of that property value will be under the homestead. You have to check the rules carefully because some areas only allow an exemption if you meet certain criteria as far as age or income. Another common group is seniors or disabled people. Many high tax areas have rules in place to help protect people, elderly people, or disabled. If either of these apply to you, call your tax assessor and ask for more details about what you could do to qualify. Generally, this is based on income, just FYI. Number 3 are military vets. Vets who have served during wartime often qualify for some type of property tax exemption, provided they were honorably discharged. Makes sense. This will vary by state, and some states do have additional requirements. Just know that there are also some areas that will allow any military vet to receive a property tax exemption. The next one is remodeling. That's going to be pretty common in most states because there's plenty of areas that are willing to let you do work and updates for a tax exemption or tax credit. So for example, if you fix up a house that's, over 25 years old, fallen into disrepair, that may qualify you for X number of years of exemption. I don't know what that is. I'm not going to plug a number in there. That's just what I've done and heard on some research. You also have green housing. Some states are greener than others. Really green states happily exclude the value of green improvements from your taxes. This makes it easier to go green when you don't have to worry about the taxes as far as doing an immediate improvement right away. You also may be able to claim additional credits on your tax return. Again, varies by state, location, and this is not an in-depth list. This is just gives you an idea to get you started. Talk to the tax assessor office or go online, see what exemptions they have in your area and what you might qualify for. That brings us to number 5 on the list, and those are supporting docs for your tax assessment. On top of exemptions and corrections due to wrong info about your home, to a further attempt to reduce your tax bill, you do need to come prepared, like I have mentioned already. The county is going to put up a fight. You need to be prepared for that fight and willing to put up a fight as well. Most important documentation to have are going to be any type of recent appraisals you've had, a comparative market analysis, or any type of documents that show any damage to the home since the last tax assessment. For example, maybe your roof leaks from either a tree falling on it or maybe a tornado. So if you've had a recent appraisal, these are going to be time sensitive because this describes the home's value and appearance at a set point in time. You can't rely on an old appraisal to get a tax reduction. So instead, hire an appraiser to do a brand new one. Now, if you do that, there could potentially be a catch. You actually may spend more on the appraiser than what you might have saved for that year. If you want to stay in your home for a while and plan on it, even the smallest dent on your taxes makes the appraisal a good investment down the road. The comparative market analysis should sound familiar to most of you because that's what realtors do. So, for example, maybe the appraisal is off the table because you can't afford it for whatever reason, whether it's not cost effective or the county's deadline is too close. The CMA is still a good option. Agents are not appraisers, but they do still provide their own insight, and an agent should have access to info that for homes around years that have recently sold, and they can help figure out what values are shown right now. And then, of course, you have the documentation of damage. just know that serious damage to a home can reduce the value. If, like that major storm I mentioned earlier, if it removed part of your siding, maybe the roof was damaged, or the brick fell off the front of your home, that's going to be serious damage. You want to take pictures, get some letters, maybe even a copy of the HOA. Maybe there are fines in place from the homeowners association for not having that done. You want to have that ready to go. Now the downside is there is damage to your house and it will continue to devalue, especially each time it rains. Now, if you have too much documented loss, there could be a potential to scare a lender and they may call in the note on your home. So just be careful with that. You don't want to go too overboard. And that finally brings us to number 6, which is presentation and waiting. While having supporting documentation is crucial to the fight against higher taxes, make sure that you have additional copies. Once you've submitted or presented your case for the property taxes, it could take several months before you receive an answer. So by keeping copies, you at least have a paper trail and you have copies through the appeals process, because documents are going to go missing, being handled by people. There is a chance that something gets misplaced and you'll need to replace it quickly. Maybe you end up owing as much as you did before the whole process started. If so, you do generally have, you can appeal at least one more time. And if in that situation, you want to bring more than what you had the first go round. So if all you had was the market analysis before and not an appraisal, set up an appraisal and get it done before your next appeal. Remember, what you're also doing is you are not appealing the tax rate. You are appealing the assessed value of your home. The same tax rate applies. It's just going to be a lesser price. So either way, there's going to be good, there's going to be bad with this situation, because the good obviously is going to be you're paying less tax. The bad, you might be undermining your efforts to potentially sell or even refinance your home with doing this. So just be careful. So that's it. That is going to wrap it up and the hot list today. So thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Again, I'm your host, Matt Johnson with Keller Williams Realty. I do this because your experience matters and should be trusted with a veteran. Y'all have a phenomenal day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.